What is going on, boys and girls of YouTube? We are a day away from patch day. It's in less than 24 hours, right? I think it's almost 12 hours I'll hit. Ignore whatever happened on my neck.
It's just gonna put it some edit. I'm gonna hate it.
Yeah, so we're a day away from patch. Is this patch gonna change Smite as we know it?
No.
Everyone wanted it to. Hi-Risk called it the nerfing. They kind of bamboozled us, right? They hit us with, we're changing 39 items. They counted, glyphs, and they counted upgraded actives as nerfs, even though it was the same nerf all the way through from tier 1 to tier 3. So we actually got like 29 nerfs on items, which is still a significant number of changes, but the changes were minor. So they are not going to impact the meta the way people are thinking. It's a step, but it's more of like an inch rather than, a full step. So maybe Hi-Res will do something in the next patch. Who knows? But that's besides the point. We have a new god hitting. The new god, when we watched it, seemed cool. Like it seemed like it had potential. His 3, his escape is unique. It's new. His ult seemed like it might be kind of strong. And then his other abilities were a little up in there because they're circle and line abilities, but it's all about the numbers, right? Numbers are low on everything but the 2. So I want to do a breakdown of the god using some of my gameplay from the PTS. I'm just going to play through it. We're going to talk about everything that's going on. We're going to talk about the new god so you guys understand it. So tomorrow when it hits, you know the strengths and you know the weaknesses, and maybe that will help you progress through playing with and against the god faster. Because a lot of the times with a god like this that's coming out, it can take a month or 2 before you start to see people really catch on to the god. I don't want that to happen. I want them to realize this god needs some changes. I don't want you guys to get there quickly. So we're going to go through it. We're going to talk about it, and I want to get into it. Hopefully you guys like these videos, especially with patch day coming out tomorrow. Want to cover a little bit of what's going on and have you guys ready to go for the patch. That's the plan. So hit the like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. Just to start off with the new god, he's a regular traditional mage in everything that he does. He's got a circle ability on his 1, which doesn't do very much damage, but when you have your passive built up, it pens, shreds pen, it doesn't pen, it shreds penetration, right? It shreds defense, which is nice, but it's so low damage that it's not really that nice. The 2 is your main ability. It's your hardest hitting ability. It double hits, and the second hit will root. While also doing more, the second hit does more damage. So if they're moving around, it's really hard to hit a double hit. You see right there, that's a single hit followed by a miss on the second part, so no root. So if the person is paying attention or running away, it is actually difficult to land if the person knows what you're gonna do. And then the 1, like I said, it doesn't do anything other than a little bit of damage and can shred that penetration. Now with the 2, it has a charge up. As soon as you start charging, as you see, we'll walk into the lane now, it turns red when it's ready to do full damage. You can keep charging it and it'll build your passive up faster. And you can see that when you're charging that 2 or casting that 2, it shows you how much of your passive you're going to get if you are to cast it at that moment. When you do have half of your passive, your auto attacks get a little bounce on them, which is cool for clear, but that doesn't make you an auto attack god, and that doesn't make you do too much overall. It really doesn't bring anything to the table outside of slight jungle clear help and slight lane clear help. Your jungle clear as a jungler or as a mid laner, like your ability to go and clear a wave, is terrible. You have some of the worst clear I've ever seen. Now here's your full combo, as you just saw. That's him using his 3 to disengage or try to avoid damage. I counter used it so he couldn't turn on me right there. The idea is the 3 is mainly going to be used for avoiding damage. It's not actually that great of a movement ability because you move so slow. You get 15% movement on it, but your base movement speed is very slow, and it's almost unnoticeable that you like that movement speed in the air on your 3. Yes, you can kind of catch other people that are trying to fight you, but if someone's running, you will never catch them with your 3. It'll never ever happen. So you're gonna have to learn to play this mage similar to like a Chunga 2, where you want to avoid as much damage with it as possible and just use it to not die, not necessarily disengage and run away from a fight. Now I want to show you guys a little bit of his ultimate and his team fight potential. So you'll see me jumping around. I'll have Daedra cut bits and pieces, but on your rotations, like this is a basic rotation for him. There's the enemy, I think it's Huang, I think is how you say it. I don't know. The new god, the new mage. That's his disengage. So you'll see a full combo is basically landing your 2 and 1ing, or 1ing and 2ing, either order. The 2 is going to be your main source of damage, so you're going to be trying to land that. And then your ultimate is going to be more for almost defensive use than killing. It does very low damage and has very low impact even when you hit it perfectly, because it has no hard CC outside of the little push, and the damage burst is not drastic. It's not going to change the game. So you see here's a combo. I land a 2, my 1's not up, so I ult, he dodges the 1, or he dodges the ult, sorry, with his 3. It's that way for everybody. Everybody can just move to the side, dash away, walk away. You cannot ult fast enough to physically insta hit them. It's not like, I don't know, casting a raw ult, something like that, right? It's got that you place the dragon down somewhere else, and then you have to reuse the ability to get it to crash, and it just doesn't feel impactful at all. It's nice when it keeps you alive, but it really doesn't feel impactful. There's the 3, me trying to use it to get the lane. You notice you don't really feel much at all in terms of movement. I'm gonna jump to another team fight so we can break down some more. Overall, my initial reaction was that he was decent as a mage. Not great, not super valuable, no reason to play him, but decent. Like, you could play him and you weren't trolling. The more I played him, the more you realize how weak he actually is. And when you aren't playing against another Huang, when you aren't playing against the new god as the other mid laner, you are extremely weak to any other mid lane god that is actually good in this meta, or just good in general. And it's hyper noticeable. It is insane how noticeable it is. You'll notice any other mage, they're up this far, you should be able to pump out damage to the point where he gets poked and gets scared. It's not possible. The 2 is a skill shot, but it's also a almost awareness or understanding thing for the enemy team. If they know what your 2 does, they can just walk away from it. They can just walk out of it. It's that simple. And then the 1, if they understand what the 1 does, they aren't going to be afraid of it because it's doing very, very, very low damage numbers. And that has to be noted when you are playing this god. Like, you really, really, really do need to pay attention to the fact that the damage numbers on everything outside of your 2 are just way weaker than they should be. The damage, just so you know, at max rank, your 1 hits for an initial burst of 190 plus 45% of your magical power, and then it burns. And if you notice, when you use the 1, you have 4 crashing little rectangles. Those crashes do an additional 55 damage plus 15% scaling. So if you were to perfectly place it, land that and all 4, you would do a little bit of damage. Like, we're talking like at max rank with scaling 700 damage maybe, where, you know, a Scylla root or a Scylla 2 is hitting for upwards of 900 to 1000. Then the 2 at max rank, the initial projectile is going to hit for 130 plus 35% scaling, and then the AoE, the second layer of damage, is going to do 230 plus 50% scaling. So we're talking about 380 base damage with 85% scaling. That is extremely low for an ability that has a double hit that can be avoided if you just have the awareness of how the ability works. It's not just a skill thing for the mage player. They have to land it, but they also need you to eat that second wave of damage, and it needs you to not be moving and trying to avoid it. Then your 3, if you do end up using it for damage, is hitting for 270 plus 50% scaling, which for an escape that you're mainly going to be using for avoiding abilities, that's not a bad thing, because if someone's diving you, you'll use it to do extra damage, but your follow-up damage isn't scary, it's not instant, and it's weak. Then we talk about your ult. Like, there's a combo where he walks right through my 2, right? Like, there's nothing I can do. And you see the ult, watch this back. The ultimate, I would jump back too far. The ultimate is way too weak. We're gonna slow-mo this just because I want it to be seen, right? So there's the 2, the second layer of the AoE damage. Doesn't get rooted, doesn't get hit by it because he walks slightly to the side, right? We tried to 1 combo off of it, but since it didn't hit, doesn't land. I try to ult instantly, so there's my dragon. The area, even with your passive, so that's without your passive. Your passive is built up, it's a little bit wider. Even without the passive, they're going to walk to the sides. You're not going to be able to instant hit it. You have to preset it up and have them position in a way that you are ready for, and I think that makes him very weak. On top of that, that damage. The initial push damage hits for 450 plus 50% scaling, which is good. Like, that's solid overall damage, especially since it's a 2 damage dealing ability, right? Let's go back to normal pace so you guys can see what's going on. The explosion damage, which is in the middle, so if you push them into that explosion and they eat it, is 260 plus 45% scaling. So the damage on the ability is fairly good. We're talking 710 damage, I think. If I did my math right, it's 710 damage with 95% scaling. That's a solid ability. The problem is how difficult it is to hit, how at a range where you want to be, it is nearly impossible to hit somebody that is paying attention. That's assuming they don't use their beads or anything else as well. And then even when you hit that full combo, they're not CC'd. So if you are to hit the ultimate, you cannot 2 or 1 off of it easily. They're going to be, as soon as they get pushed back, they take that little bit of damage. They never stop moving after that initial push hits. That is an issue because you do not have a solid combo. Your initial full combo right now is 2 and then 1, and that's it. And that 2-1 combo does less than a Scylla 2-1 combo. While Scylla has a easier to hit ult that resets and does more damage, has a safer dash. So I'm just comparing it to Scylla because Scylla isn't even considered one of the best mages in the game. So we're talking about one of these solid, consistent mages that isn't at the tippy top, is still miles beyond this god. Now, I realize we're harping on the bad of this god. I've talked about the good on his 3. He's not a terrible god. And realistically, his abilities are cool and unique. And the 2 being the way it is isn't a problem, but it should have more value to it if you are hitting it. That 1 should do something else or apply some other aspect to it because it feels lackluster. The 3, perfectly fine. If they don't want it to be a dash and escape, they want it to be a damage avoidance ability, that is fine. But if you're going to do that, make it so that ultimate peel is a little bit less clunky, a little more instant, a little more fluid, and has more value when you do hit all of it. If I hit my full kit on somebody who doesn't have defense, I should kill them. Every other mage can kill somebody if they hit 2 of their damaging abilities. They don't have to use their ult once they're full build. This god does not do that. This god does not one-shot. Obviously, we want to get away from the one-shots, but the other mages still one-shot. Other mages were not, their one-shots were not taken away. While this god is being put into the game where he is with a higher skill floor, because skill floor, meaning to play the god at a decent level takes more skill than normal. And it's because of the lack of damage paired with the actual way the abilities work. I don't see many players playing this god and being like, this is really fun. I like this and he's good. I see most people being like, oh, he's different. I want to make him work. I don't know why I'm not doing damage. That's how I picture everybody. Now, when the god hits, I am very interested to see how it plays out and how people are initially feeling. But from my experience, from the people that also played this god on the PTS with me, Inbound, one of the pro players, he played it. His initial reaction was, the god doesn't seem bad. He played her once. He was like, yeah, she's not terrible, but she's not great. Then he played her a second time and he was like, she's terrible. Or he, sorry, not she. I keep saying she. He is trash. So the more your initial reaction on a new god is you get value and you feel excited about the new. So you're hyped up. And then as the new and, fresh feeling fades away and you get to really get an impact and feel for the god of the abilities, the damage, you start to realize this god is being launched way weaker than we want, way weaker than he should be. And everyone's initial excuse that I've seen is, well, we're asking for no more one-shots. Yes, we are. But we're not asking it just for this new god. We're asking it for everybody. So putting in a new god that's weak is going to make it harder for high-res, in my opinion, to balance him. It's easier to nerf a god slightly over and over again until they get it right than to find a way to buff a god and figure out the best way that his abilities flow. I'll be interested to see how this plays out. Like I said, I like his kit. I like the overall idea. I like that they were going for less CC, but usually when you go for less CC, you go for more damage, and we didn't get either, which I feel like is strange. His objective burning is horrible. His objective secure is horrible. That is just a fact if you look at the abilities and the damage he's pumping out, which is a scary thing because usually on a mage, that's not what you want. I would like to show you guys the last fight. So one of the final fights in this game, we do get fire. We're up, 8k gold in this match, and we're kind of free pushing right here. I almost, as when playing him and when you're running around on him, you just want to throw out your abilities to kind of spam them. You're going mostly CDR when you play this guy, because if you don't, the damage numbers aren't enough. You need to build some CDR to use the abilities twice, which is fine. It's an okay way to play. But notice, that was a double hit on a mage. So process this real quick. Oops, I went too far. Let me jump back. All right, so right here, I'm about to ult, right? And this is for anyone arguing, oh, his ult does amazing damage. This is an ult on the enemy mage, the enemy mid laner, right? So you see, we throw out our abilities. They're down from trying to hit Mamba. He throws out his ultimate. I throw out my ultimate. I hit the initial damage right here. So we do, 472 plus our 2 procs on the enemy mage. And then we hit him again for 300. So our ultimate that has a base of 700 plus the scaling just hit their enemy mage when I am way ahead. I'm not full build, obviously, but I only hit him for half his health. with my big damaging, difficult to hit, not hyper consistent ultimate. That also doesn't have a long range, so you are kind of in a weird position when you're using it and you want to double hit it. Just think about that when you're jumping on the god as you play him. I would love for you guys to drop comments below and tell me how you're feeling and what you're thinking about him, because I think I've solidified where I stand with this god, how I feel. I do like high res overall. Didn't want to do anything to piss us off. Was this whole patch was let's start doing things that maybe makes everybody happy, but nothing was enough. I wish they had used this test server to test, to see how the new god was performing, to see how all the nerfs actually impacted the game. And then when they got their, information back from us, their feedback, their whatever they're pooling, their statistics, they made more changes before this hit live tomorrow. Sadly, that's not what's happening. It's a little disappointing. Here's a little Goomba stomp for you guys. So you go up in the air, you can cancel that 3 in the air and you can land and do some damage. It's not very much damage. Notice I didn't get the kill on somebody who is at like 15% HP. It is what it is. It's how the new god's gonna play. Like I said, in the comments below, once you play this god, please give me your feedback, give me your information, give me your comments. I am interested in how you guys are taking it. I just can't imagine a world where everyone's like, this god's awesome, I love him. I just can't see it happening. You can see, you do start to hit a little, like this is the mage where he has no auras, right? A little too far. I want to show you where I hit the one. So like that's hitting, we're hitting a little bit of damage, right? Onto their front lines. We're not hitting very hard at all. That was a 2 combo. That's my hardest hitting ability. That knock up slash 3 slam Goomba stomp, whatever, hits for 195 on their tank. Really not hitting that hard. And I do have flat pen and I have rod. I obviously don't have ob shard in this game yet. We could have a little bit more penetration, but also we're way up on them. They're not big. So we are big, they aren't. And then you see here, I land my 1 on the enemy mage, who I'm 2 levels up on. You can see him in the back, Rich. When that 1 hits, you see a 340 is the core damage. You saw 100 proc, which I believe is the slamming of the cinders. So the little squares like closing in. So you get 400 damage, but that's a circle ability with no lockdown, no CC that does 400 damage to an enemy mage like it. The base damage on Ymir 2 is going to be 400 damage on an enemy mage. The base damage on most mages is going to be way higher than that. And that's where I see the problems coming in. That's where I'm a little disappointed with what we got. I really hope that very quickly we get updates and they buff this god a little bit and they nerf everything else a little bit and we kind of get a balance of all the other gods and everything, because it's like they went for an anti-power creep. So everyone's been complaining about power creep, and Hi-Res doesn't seem to believe that power creep is a thing. Power creep is basically as they create new gods and new characters and new items, they kind of make the old ones obsolete. And it's almost like they know it's happening, they don't want to admit it, and they put this god out the way they did to be like, he's going to be weaker, he's not going to make the other mages obsolete. But by doing that, they pretty much just made him not worth playing, and it's a very weird state to be in. I hope they fix it quick, because the new God's kit I like. I want to be able to play him. I want to throw him around in different roles and see how he plays and see what we can do with him. It just feels lackluster right now. So I hope you guys like the video. It's a little bit different style. I just wanted to go through this. If you guys want something different out of this, that's fine. Tell me in the comments. If you guys want me to go over the whole patch notes again, let me know. I didn't think it was worth it since the patch notes were just last week. We didn't have a huge gap, so everyone should roughly remember. And if you don't, there are paper patch notes on Smite Games website. They're on Smite source, I believe, as long as we updated that little banner at the top. And then I have my patch notes video for you to skim through real quick if you need to. So I hope you guys liked the video. I'll see you on the video later tomorrow, the next day, and the next day.